Picture this. You walk into a game store with the intent of purchasing a Sonic the Hedgehog video game. You walk through the aisles looking for the first Sonic game you see, and you finally find one. You remove it from the shelf, and promptly put it back. Sonic the Hedgehog box art is what I'm here to talk about today. Box art is supposed to be the first impression of something. You walk into a store, look at the cover art, and it's supposed to sell you on that game as if you've never seen it before. This isn't unique to video games by any means. Pretty much any piece of physical media has some sort of cover art. To Kill a Mockingbird, Sonic Colors Ultimate. Good box art mainly needs to be two things. Number one, it needs to be relatively indicative of the game, like does this box art do a good job at telling what the game actually is? This sort of thing honestly matters the least, despite what common sense may lead you to believe, as number two, it needs to look good. Plenty of great games out there have box arts that aren't actually super informative about what the game actually is, but they look great, and for the most part, that actually matters more. I'm not going to cover every box art or anything, just the ones I wanted to talk about. Alright, let's start. Starting off at the very beginning, we've got the classic games and their US box arts done by Greg Martin. Now these box arts are really easy to shit on because who is this? That's Sonic? No, it's not. In reality, I don't care that much about the different design, largely because I've grown so used to it and because that's way back in the past. I think the only big negative I have to say is, why is he making the same face in every single cover? Looks kinda stupid when put side by side. Other than that, I actually really like the general composition and background art that's done here. Sonic 1, you've got Sonic front and center striking a little pose in front of a well-illustrated green hill. Sonic 2 doesn't have much of a background per se, but the composition is incredible. Sonic and Tails side by side, shrunken down to make way for this imposing-ass drawing of Eggman with his hand on a giant tube. Sonic 3 has an honestly beautiful background that a lot of people just disregard, and I think it sucks because I really like it. Sonic CD, yeah, I just don't really like this one. It tries to convey too much, and I feel it ends up feeling somewhat unfocused and a little silly. The background looks pretty nice though. However, I'm sure all of you saw this coming. The Japanese box arts are just way better in my opinion. The scattering of these seemingly random shapes and colors is just so striking and creates such a unique visual identity that would go on to be replicated in Sonic Generations. I love each and every one of them. I also really love how each cover is accompanied by a different motivational quote. That's so sweet. I feel a little bad for Greg Martin's legacy in the Sonic fandom, as he's incredibly talented and has actually created some of the best pieces of artwork of Sonic's character when he isn't bound by the US design shackles. I mean, seriously, look at this. I fucking love this. Now, if you're enjoying the video so far, I'll keep it quick. Subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying it so far. It helps me out a ton, and I want to hit 10K by the end of the year. Also, support my Patreon if you want early access to videos, link in the description. But anyways, we make our jump to 3D. Fuck off. We make our jump to 3D with Sonic Adventure, and oh my god, I love this quite a lot. It's so simple, but it does everything right. Sonic striking his iconic whatever the fuck pose front and center with the logo right underneath him. And that background, man. A ripple of water right behind Sonic. This beautiful sky, the beach at the bottom, Station Square in the middle. There's so much going on in this background, yet it's all done really subtly as to not clutter the box art, and I gotta say, it's one of my favorite backgrounds of the entire franchise. I adore it. So how can we fuck it up? Jesus. The background is still pretty good for the most part, just a little worse, but the placement and just a render of Sonic, it's not very good. Sucks because there's actually a lot of these old, outdated adventure renders that I do like a lot. Just, they chose this one. And then you've got Chaos behind him. Look at him, he looks like a sad dog, he doesn't even know what's going on. A horrible butchering of the original box art. But luckily, things get better with SA2. This right here is probably my favorite box art from the entire franchise. The entire cover is contrasting with a different part of itself. Sonic and Shadow facing away from one another with the logo underneath them, which also includes the contrast in itself, and then it's topped off by this gorgeous background featuring this red and blue gradient. This background has always captivated me. The colors chosen throughout the gradient is just, it just itches my brain in some sort of way. I love the shades of blue and red that were chosen, and they blend into one another so seamlessly. The clouds from the sky, the stars in space, everything just clicks. I love how everything in this box art shows off the hero and dark contrast so much. It feels so natural and even subtle in some areas. Like, I bet you didn't even notice how half of the cover takes place in the sky and the other in space. Yet another contrast. I love it to death. Now, while it did get a port on the GameCube, it wasn't butchered this time. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle looks pretty good, but not even as close as good as the original. This time, both sides parallel each other, including the entire playable cast. It doesn't really look cluttered whatsoever, but I feel like the simplicity and intention of the original was lost. Like, come on, that background does not stack up to that background. A final thing I'd like to say about both Adventure 1 and 2, though, is that these two games look so good when put side by side. Adventure 2 feels like such a proper evolution of the first one's cover. The way Sonic is front and center with the logo under him, the fucking awesome ass backgrounds behind both. They feel like two pieces of a puzzle, and I really like that. Next up is Sonic Heroes, and yeah, I like it a good bit. It's very simple and straight to the point, although I do think it might be a bit too simple. Not really a fault of its own, but when you compare, let's say, the background of Heroes to that of SA1 or 2, it definitely looks a bit underwhelming. But really, I have nothing against it. Only that because they made Sonic be the most noticeable character, Knuckles looks a little strangely short, which I think looks kind of funny. However, I will say I actually like the cover for the PAL versions of the game more. This time, each character is scaled down a bit, looking more natural next to one another, and a correlating color stripe swooshes behind each of them, and I honestly just prefer this. I think it's really nice. Sonic 06, despite, well, you know, it's quality, actually has a box art I'm very fond of. While it's nothing super crazy, I have to respect it a lot because it screams confidence. All it is Sonic running front and center as the backdrop of Kingdom Valley is shown behind him, with the word Sonic the Hedgehog right at the bottom. It feels very confident in itself, and I like that quite a lot. The soft motion blur of the background also does a nice job of emphasizing Sonic's speed. All around, a very good cover. Now, Sonic Unleashed is another all-timer box art. This is right up there with SA2 for me. It has the same general prose of SA2's box art that I like. It's very simple on the surface, yet there's a lot of depth to it. The left of the cover represents the day, while the right side represents the night. Each half coming with its own time of day equivalent, with half of Sonic being normal and the other the werehog. A detail I adore, which isn't even super subtle or anything, I just don't think a lot of people picked it up, is that the blast that shot the planet at the start of the game can actually be seen creating the split in the box art. If you'll notice, the explosion of the blast is also what seems to be giving the outer glow to Sonic. I just think that's so sick. Like I said earlier, simple on the surface. You immediately get what the game's about, yet there's still a lot of detail to the cover if you look a little closer. We're on a roll, because Sonic Colors is another amazing cover. Not a ton of depth to this one per se, but that doesn't detract from its quality. Sonic is there front and center, how many times have I said that before, striking a pose as his fist reaches out towards us. One really cool part about it is that you can actually see Sonic is coming out of the cyan laser form when you look at his foot, and I think that's a really cool detail. Speaking of wisps, they all surround Sonic with a trail following behind them all. It's quite dynamic. And to top it off, we have the main landmark of the game, Tropical Resort, serving as the background, giving us the visual flair contained within the stage itself. It's all so nice. It's so vibrant. It's all around just a very pleasant cover to look at and just take in. Sonic Colors Ultimate. It's not, like, bad, per se. It's just way worse. So the main centerpiece stays, Sonic and the Wisps remain completely intact. However, the background has been replaced with this gradient accompanied by some shapes here and there. And I don't really think this looks bad. I still think it looks quite nice. However, compared to the Wii version, I think this one lacks severely. I also think a bit of contrast between Sonic and the background was lost, as Tropical Resort, not like it's devoid of color or anything, served as a good contrast for all the, well, colors going out on front. Now the foreground tends to blend in a little more with the background, specifically seen in some of the wisps. Again, not a bad cover, just a worse one. I don't have much to say about Sonic Forces. Despite how dynamic it's trying to be, I find a hard time taking it seriously with everyone doing these action poses and trying to look all serious. Honestly, this box art resembles the average superhero movie poster more than anything, so it doesn't really stand out, it's just kind of there. Frontiers is fine. It looks decent. It represents the game well enough, I suppose. I will say I like that the cover is essentially a gameplay screenshot of the game made with assets that actually look good. It still suffers from the non-existent art direction the game has, so overall it's still sorta weak, but I can confidently say that I don't hate it, but that's about it. And finally, Sonic X Shadow Generations. I don't really like it. Shadow is front and center running on a floating platform, I guess, okay. And then because they still wanted Sonic Gens represented on the cover, you've got modern and classic Sonic split down the middle, fucking spread out, separated. Also on floating platforms, looking at each other, and I'm sorry, I think that looks so shit. I know it is photoshopped, clearly, but Jesus Christ, this looks so photoshopped. Look at classic Sonic. He looks fucking huge compared to that tiny-ass platform he's on. The scale looks so weird. It's a shame because the Japanese cover is fucking nuts. That's more like it. Sonic Gens is represented on one half, while Shadow Gens on the other. I love that Shadow's half is completely flipped upside down. It's so damn cool. I also love how each character sticks out of their own side. They aren't awkwardly cut off or anything. So depending on the region you're in, I just ended this video off on a wet fart or a gem. Okay, well that about does it. I know there's still a lot of covers I didn't talk about, so comment if you'd like me to do a part 2 or something to this. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe, and if you want to support me even more, join my Patreon for early access to videos, link in the description. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.